Hey everyone, this is Said with Messy Growth. Got a great guest today, and it's someone who has helped shape some of the very iconic product and engineering cultures here in Poland. Piotr Kacała is a CTPO board advisor and a product tech leader with nearly 20 years of experience building world-class software teams and shipping large-scale products. He's currently the interim CTPO and board advisor at GOG, formerly the CTO and board member at Displate, and before that spent 7 years leading engineering at GOG.com and contributing to the tech backbone of CD Projekt's ecosystem. These are the Victor guys, by the way. He's also the founder of Product Cards, a coach and advisor, helping companies improve product strategy, discovery, and delivery. He writes widely shared insights on building blocks of great product organizations and is an official team topologies advocate, helping teams scale without the chaos. If that was not enough, here's the kicker. Piotr is also the creator of AI Product Heroes. This is a cohort that Piotr runs. I want to talk more about that. We'll dig into that in just a minute. Guys, Piotr has seen it all. Hypergrowth, complex technical stacks, leadership transformations, and the messy reality of building real products with real teams. And today, we get to learn from all of that. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, Piotr.
Thanks for having me. You said I've seen it all, but it all came at a cost. So lots of gray hair and scar tissue all over my body.
Scar tissue is exactly what I'm after. That's what I want to talk about, because, and this is kind of like leads to my first question I wanted to ask you. Upon doing research, I know we had our pre-interview, we talked about it quite a lot. I know the public version of your career, and it looks great. There is nothing that does not look great here. But what's something people don't see about you that shapes how you lead and as a team leader?
I think that it was a very lonely road to much degree. A bunch of hitting the walls here and there, a bunch of learning stuff by doing, experimenting a lot. So it was all around the place, I would say. It does seem nice, and I was fortunate enough to work with some fantastic people that I've stumbled upon my career. But it was very messy, full of mistakes, full of people being in the opposite room of where I was and me trying to convince them to do this thing. So, you know, how it is with LinkedIn. It all looks dandy, but when you start digging in, there's a bunch of dirt.
Yeah. You mentioned something interesting, which is it is a very lonely road. And a lot of folks in your position, when you hold such titles, such responsibilities, it tends to be very lonely at the top. When you talk about mistakes being made, do you kind of feel like that those mistakes are exacerbated because you're lonely and you can't really talk to a lot of people? Because your peers around you most probably are not in that situation. They don't know the stresses and the issues you carry. It's not that it's not a privileged position. I'm pretty sure it is. But it also brings a level of stress that you talked about that brings in the gray hair and so on and so forth.
I think it is a big part of that, and I've learned how to deal with that. So it's extremely important to find, your own board of directors. So it doesn't have to be an official one. It doesn't have to be, your boss or your peers.
Sure.
There might be people who are in similar size companies and you just hang out with. There are certain mentors you can hire, several coaches you can hire to build up that network of people who can support you. And the sooner you'll find that that group that will give you confidence, outside perspective, the better. So I had I've been in a fortunate position to use some of that people, and it was extremely helpful. But before then, the stress didn't help. It was, we're in a very, very lonely positions. You always have to, I guess I made a decision to wear masks just to be there for my team, even if I didn't have, the capacity for it. It's important to have that mental resilience, but it comes at a big cost. So I'm highly advising people to invest in the network of people that can support you, to invest in physical health and mental health, endurance. So it is very important at that high stress positions.
It's pretty taxing. I'm gonna go a little bit geeky on you, but
Mm.
I want to talk about something, and I kind of feel like it's what you talked about, mental health and the stress aspect of it. People don't talk about it enough because I feel there is an expectation that when you're at the top, you just have to be tough, like you know all the answers. But I guess there's a scene in one of the Lord of the Rings movie, I think it's Return of the King or the second one, where the guy's like, I think it's Aragorn, and he goes, sorry for being geeky. He says, "Yet I give all the hope to my men, yet I keep none for myself." Do you feel that that is true a lot for the roles at the very top, which is like you have to put on a brave front, but it is coming at a cost of a certain level of energy and mental peace that you're not going to have yourself because you're exerting so much?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've been many times in a position that when I just came home to my enclave of sorts, I was like super exhausted, didn't have capacity for my family, which also didn't add up to, the relieving of stress. So yeah, it is very damning. It is a very serious issue that we all should be tackling. Funnily enough, last year I've been invited to one of the founders communities to talk about building product, but there was a big session about founders' mentality and their suicide rates and the general well-being, and it was excruciating. The
Yeah.
stats were terrible. So I don't recall specific statistic, but there's like, as a founder, you have 3 times more probability to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Um, so it is a serious issue, and
Yeah.
it needs to be treated.
100%. And I'm glad that there's more forums now. Like you said, there's a community where you can talk to each other because I think talking about it, it helps a little bit to know and realize there's other people in that situation. I'm not alone. There's nothing wrong with me. Um,
Absolutely.
which
And
is
funnily
super
enough,
important.
at that convention, it became a big therapeutical session when all those, 20 something founders were like, okay, now is the time I can just remove my guard and just
Yeah.
be, and just, there were some cries even. So it was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But however, it is, as you said, that most of the people expect that the executive positions will hold a very tough guys and tough gals. And some people grew into that archetype, and it's harmful, I would say.
For sure. I think it's kind of like the expectation of you makes you to be
Ex-
the person that you're expected to be type
Exactly.
of thing, which is
Exactly.
it's ironic in and of itself. Um, I do want to talk a little bit about AI product heroes. Can you walk me
Mhm.
through what exactly is that? What are you trying to do with it? Just so I can get in and the listeners can get the better understanding of that.
Yeah. So AI Product Heroes is a cohort-based course on building products with the help of AI. That's the product I'm running with Wojtek Strzałkowski, ex-Booking, ex-Allegro, currently head of product at GOG.com. And our take is different, I think, than most of the courses, because we're trying to build muscles how to create great products and use AI as one of the technologies, so like sprinkle on the top of the entire
Yeah.
product development lifecycle, and not the AI as a forefront. Another, concept that is currently popular. So leverage the AI to help with the ever living product building school,
Mhm.
and not like AI as a forefront. So we just finished the first cohort. We had 610 people. We landed a very high NPS of 80. So we're better than iPhone. So That's us, and we're extremely happy. We just started a waitlist for the second cohort. So if anyone is interested in in product building and increasing the business results you get from your product and engineering team, you can visit aiproductheroes.pl and sign up there.
Cool. I'm going to add the links in the description so folks can go ahead and take a look at it because this seems pretty exciting. On the topic of that, what you're doing, I fully agree about sprinkling AI on top and not letting be the core function. Do you think is that what new founders are getting wrong? That everybody's going on the hype train of AI and it's like AI literally is at the forefront of everything. So you're teaching the inverse, whereas people are, I believe, going in the other direction, all in AI.
Yeah. Right now, like as with all new technologies, and I've seen, for the last 20 years, I've seen quite a bit of new technologies, and some of them were fads, some of them are still with us, but it always went the same cycle. Yeah, there's something innovative. There are big valuations at it. Founders want to be on that train. Therefore, they're treating everything as a nail because they have that hammer in their head.
Yeah.
I like using a metaphor. Do you know there are like wooden toys for kids? You have to fit the shapes in the toys. So
Yes.
right now they're like pushing the circle into every single piece. Like
That's
everything
cool.
has to be AI.
Yeah.
And that's not what customers want, really. Right now, I think a lot of people are tired that there's AI everywhere. And don't get
Yep.
me wrong, it's a fantastic technology. But not every product has to be an AI product. You don't need, AI to be making your sandwiches. So we're trying to teach the fundamentals, how to talk to your customers, how
Yeah.
to use it in discovery process, why discovery is actually important here, how to create a simple, cheap prototypes that you can show to your customers the next day or the next week. And what's possible with AI and what's not possible with AI, because right now everyone is like, okay, like in 6 months, I'm firing half of my engineers and everything is going to be great. And the reality is it's not going to be great and
Yeah.
it's going to be a disaster.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And sorry, I woke up today with some sort of like a movie critic mood, but it reminds me of the scene from The Big Short. I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's about the 2008 financial crisis. And it's interesting enough, the guy's coming back from like Florida after he's interviewed a lot of the people and exotic dancers, let's call him that. And he right away says, yeah, there's a bubble because everybody has like 3-4 houses and they're going to default on their loans. And I think that's where we're headed with AI is because if your toothpaste has AI and your toothbrushes have AI and your microwaves, things are going in a direction they should not be going into. Like you said it right, in a round hole square peg, or he's trying to put the square peg in the round hole. It's not going to go. So it's just one of those things. So I think there is definitely something there. So kudos on that front.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your career. So you went from CTO at Displate with a board seat to becoming an advisor and coach. That is not a typical career progression. Kind of like if you look at it from the lens of how careers progress, most people want the opposite. What happened that made you walk away from the executive suite?
So my goal was always to create impact, some meaningful transformations wherever I was, whatever part of team I was back then. So to be fair with you, I didn't care that much for like what my titles were looking like.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big part of my career, that I just love what I was doing. I was decent at it and I had lots of energy, and people noticed. So I would be lying if I said that I wasn't happy for the board position. I was. And I was very fortunate to be recognized that way. And it did give me some new opportunities to create that impact. So I felt like I was, a team member of every team in the company as a board member. But at the same time, I kept getting asked by people outside Displate? How do you do strategy? How do you measure things? How do you set up the engineering teams? How do you hire that person? What's the secret? And it became apparent to me that this is not the knowledge that just is laying down on the street. And
Yeah.
I realized there are better ways of scaling myself better. So I was happy with the state of the team, and that's why I made the decision. So now I can work with multiple companies and multiple leaders, and I can, even though I cannot vertically invest that much time in one company, I can horizontally invest my
Fair enough.
time in a lot of companies. So that means more patterns, bigger sample size of what works and what doesn't, more experimentation on my end, and just more um, tools in my belt I can show. And it's not like fully left the executive layer. I've been an operator for 20 something years, so it's difficult to teach the old dog the new tricks. So I don't have the, fat cat mentality. So I do work with executive boards, supervisory boards, and leaders. But when things get tough, I can, roll up my sleeves and work alongside the leadership team. But the main difference is breadth.
Yeah, 100%. I think what you're saying in the midst of it all is experiment as much as you can. Only then will you find what you like, and then you pursue that. And you've
Exactly.
just seems to have found your niche, which is critical. Rewinding the clock back a little bit, you started as a software engineer in 2005. You owned your own company, Digiport, for about 4 years, then went back to being an employee. Was there something that entrepreneurship taught you, or were there some particular lessons that you got out of it that helped you being an employee, or found some newfound respect for guys who
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
build things?
I think the big story of mine is just being a enthusiastic generalist and learning things along the way and keeping them in my belt. So um, if you look at it from that perspective, you can see it as going from employee to founder to an employee again. But I see it more as going from a missionary to mercenary to some degree
That
to
is
better
awesome.
to better missionary.
Yeah,
Because
that's awesome.
Digiport was a software house. Back then, we didn't call it like that, but it was a software house. I started because I generally liked building products and I was good at it. And back then, there weren't that many people who knew how to build decent software. So, and why I loved building products, I didn't love just being a pencil in someone else's hands, because that's ultimately how most of the companies treat software houses. And I especially didn't love the fact that I had to uh, give someone my baby. Well, they pay for it, so it's theirs. But just say farewell to them, because for me, products are something that doesn't have a start and an end. And software houses have a very clear hand of process in which the client takes it over and it's there. So there was this big yearning of mine, and I had this feeling I could do so much more with that product, but you know. Client said it's finished. So so that was my aha moment when it comes to running a service company. But it taught me a lot of the stuff: the client management, running a business. It made me think like an entrepreneur, always tackling problems head on, weighing risks, staying flexible, writing a team, being responsible for them, pushing for better results. Um, However, you know, it came across with the offer I got from GOG. That still is part of CD Projekt. So I don't know if you see, there is a Witcher figurine here, uh, and I am a geek. I'm
Mm.
not sorry to admit that. I was a gamer, and it was the big Polish company I always aspired to be. So it felt like opportunity once in a lifetime. So it was a company that I admired, that felt that I could chip in, and yeah, my journey started with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's perfect. We'll get to CD Projekt in just a minute. I want to talk about Displate. So at Displate, things were scaling rapidly during your tenure. Um, was there something that broke at scale that you never anticipated would be a problem?
Mm, I think the middle management layer, um, especially, it was apparent in Display when we were rapidly scaling both revenue and the teams. Um, Startups have this tendency to give up senior managerial leadership positions like a candy. And for most, it is a deliberate strategy because you're
Yeah,
attracting talent. Someone
of
was a
course.
senior PM at
Mm.
this company, and right now you can give him a head or a C position. So there is this attracting and there is this retaining part, but it comes at the costs associated because some of the people, um, at the market wouldn't be hired at that positions in bigger companies.
Yeah.
So the people who um, I um, had a pleasure to work with, and when I joined, there was already a leadership team when it comes to the product and engineering part, were the best possible candidates at the certain company stage. However, um, the moment we started raising the bar, some of those people couldn't keep up. And it wasn't particularly their fault. It
Of
was
course.
just like they were moved to a very senior position, gave a bunch of responsibilities, didn't get enough support, and didn't have previous experience to it. So they have to grown up into that role, and that just takes time. And for some position, we didn't have that time, so we were trying to, find some good scenarios in that occasion.
Fair enough.
Because when it comes to strategic thinking, product intuition, delivery at scale, you like it's a complex thing. So these muscles weren't there, and we didn't see this until it was too late. And this problem actually compounds. So if you have a mediocre manager, he or she can make everyone below them either mediocre or drive the good people out. And we had a few such scenarios displayed. So you end up with a layer that either blocks information upward or distorts the execution downward. And this was something that was hiding in a plain sight for us for quite some months.
How do you have that conversation with a manager? Do you make them realize it, or you just be honest and put cards on the table saying, "Hey, that's the pattern we're noticing. Is that something you're noticing? Because there seems to be friction." And the only option, like you said, it's not their fault. It's just they're not built for that position, so to speak.
Um, I had several of these conversations.
Mhm.
Some went extremely well.
Of course.
There was a person who thanked me. Uh, I gave an opportunity to sort of be demoted, but put again in the specialist path. There were some people who wasn't very happy about hearing this.
Mm.
But my strategy is, um, here's where the bar is. This is where the expectations are. There's the pattern that I'm seeing. Let's try to work something out and see what's the trajectory.
Course.
Because if you can keep up fast enough, no problem. So let's spend the next 3 months working closely to getting you into this position. Uh, and if we can reach this position, there are certain scenarios we can use. So you can stay at the company, for example, at the individual contributor path, or we will figure something out in here. But I think, and I was making that mistake in the past, just like keeping the fingers crossed that everything
Wishful
will,
thinking.
yeah, wishful thinking. And it's harmful for that person. It's harmful for the team because they're seeing
Yeah.
what's going on. It's harmful for the company.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and it's harmful for you as a manager because we've been seen as a weakest links in our team. So like the pace needs to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right about that. Displate, talking about that, you left Displate December 2023, started Product Cards in January 2024. That's incredibly fast. Was Product Cards your exit plan, or did you just figure it out after leaving?
So it was planned. Product Cards was initially it was a newsletter that I started. It changed the name to Ship It. But it was part of the scaling myself better strategy that I started even before Displate. So the knowledge existed. I've been answering the same questions for years, but January was a official execution of that, not the invention. That later on turned into consulting company that I'm still running, and currently is migrating into something more, a full educational platform with its own courses. I've mentioned the AI Product Heroes, but we're boiling something more, a podcast, a community, and a few more products alongside the courses. So plenty of discussions with Wojtek that we're running for the last 6 months.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that front. Your tagline is pretty interesting. On LinkedIn, it says, "I help build great product engineering teams." I wanted to dig deeper into that. What's the most common way that founders, CTOs accidentally destroy good teams without even realizing it?
I think there are a couple of sins that I'm seeing.
Only a couple?
A couple that are repeating.
That's one.
First, telling people what to do. So it doesn't add up for me. We're hiring very smart people, paying them shit ton of money. Can I swear here?
Yes, of course you can. Please, you must, you should.
All right. So it really doesn't make sense. We're hiring the smart people, we're paying them good money, and then we're treating them like, tasks executors. So someone who is like keyboard monkey, so to speak. Yeah. So that's one. Second, I would say it's trying to create a process for everything, and as a byproduct, drowning the company in the process. So every mistake is being put into the table, and right now there needs to be a process, and we need to make sure that this never happens again. And what it creates as a byproduct is an organization that doesn't have to think because there is a process for everything. And that's not how you breed innovation. That's how you breed mediocrity.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So every product, every problem gets a new ritual, new tool. It's a death by 1,000 coordination needles. Yeah. The next one would be not maintaining a focus and just being all around the table. So here's the new AI thing. Previously, it was cryptocurrencies or bunch of stuff. So like, let's not even get into that area. I've seen weird products, man.
I know, I bet. And I think like your first point is it rings so true because it's true for the other departments as well. The problem when you hire a good talent and you start telling them what to do is that even if they had that ability to take initiative, they will stop taking initiative because they're now expecting you to tell them what to do. So you have
Absolutely.
now killed that talent through and through, because they're phenomenal talent, but because of the way you communicated and you set things up, you've now rendered that person useless
Yeah.
for half of their skill set. And so if you're paying shit ton of money, like you said, you're getting not even 40% of what that person's worth because of how you've built and driven that team. So
Exactly this. And I've right now I've hired, I don't know, 100, I don't know, 200 people throughout my career.
Mm.
And the most common, there are two arguments when I ask, why are you thinking of changing the company? And the two
Yeah.
main reasons are, I'm not developing, or I don't believe in what we're building. And telling people what to build, it hits both marks. Like
So,
they're not gonna grow.
Yeah.
They're not gonna use their brains for that. And typically they don't believe that this is something that we should build because you haven't touched base with them, involved their ideas, and it's harmful for the most part.
Staying on the topic of building teams and leading teams, you've led engineering teams from startup to scale up multiple times. At what team size does everything break? And why does that number seem consistent across companies, even if there is a number like that?
I think there are a couple of numbers actually. So depending on the size, and it follows the Dunbar's numbers, which is 10, 5, and 150, and it just makes sense on the like social theater. So if you go to a party, if the group, the circle is becoming too big, it becomes two circles because people cannot keep up with that many
Yeah.
people. So it's so the first real test is assembling a second team. Typically in product engineering, that's the first number. So around 10 to 15 people. Suddenly you need explicit process to do certain stuff. There's like the coordination overhead. You need to exchange the knowledge, and what worked implicitly with one team will not work with two. So some things will break. So that's the first. The second number would be 50 for me, because that's the number you will start to realize you don't know everyone. So you will bump into a person and will like, okay, like we know each other. I know your name maybe, but I don't have a full realization what you're doing. And that breakpoint is important because you need to think how to explicitly transmit culture. So before that, pretty much everyone was like this, family vibe, startup phenomenon. And right now, the cultural transmission will not operate via osmosis as it did before.
Yeah.
So you need to figure this shit out because it is important. Culture is very important. And then 150, then you're running a big organization, not a team. Different skills entirely. You need to figure out the mid-management layer, the leadership position. There's this big step up in here that you need to do. So I would say these three.
Perfect. Talking about doing research, we talked about ship it cards. Your blog is literally called Building Blocks of Successful Tech Product Companies. What's the one building block that you believe Polish tech companies consistently get wrong?
Underinvesting in product muscles, and I will double click on it. First thing is Polish companies are obsessive about delivery. So focusing on outcomes, on outputs, not on outcomes. Poland has a big history of software houses. I had one. But and the upside too is we have fantastic engineers, fantastic designers. So they're rapidly successful at big tech companies. However, if you look at the how many great products was bred in Poland, not that many. Yeah. So the product mindset isn't quite there. And this ties down to a weak connection to the customers. So we know what we want to build, therefore we're building it. Simple as that. It doesn't work like that. You cannot build products in that way. So typical Polish companies build based on, gut feelings, not on evidence.
Yeah.
And third victim, I would say, is relying, and I think it doesn't just, it's not just the sin of Poland, but it's the entire Europe, besides a few big hubs, is believing in agile that will just do the trick. Um,
Mm.
Hiring a product owner, calling the product management, not the same thing. While agile in its principles is a very good thing, if you make it a religion and you focus just on that, you will get a delivery theater and it will not breed you a great product.
That's pretty interesting. Talking about products, you do product discovery, product strategy, product delivery. Which one is it do companies think that they need help with versus what they actually need help with?
Yeah. So I think it ties down to what I just said. Founders are notoriously to come up to me and say, Piotr, like, we need you to speed up our delivery. Like, it needs to be optimal. They need to be faster, more efficient. They're costing us money, and they do cost them quite a bit of penny. But what they really need is a good strategy, and not like this just weird deck that says, okay, what's our goal? We want to make money, man.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That's our strategy. That's not strategy. And what is connected with that is the discovery muscles. So understanding the customer, understanding your competition, and having this continuous cycle of probing and this and that. Because the delivery problems are typically symptoms of unclear priorities, no connection to customers, and just building the wrong things entirely. And if you focus on the delivery, it's like optimizing a cart that just gives you stones instead of gold. You're shipping things that nobody needs. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how pretty or fast they are. Like, people will not use them.
Yeah, fair enough. Coming to CD Projekt, you've worked at CD Projekt, got digital distribution, then Displate. It's an e-commerce art. What's a product principle that you believe that held true across all these three very different types of businesses?
A tough one. I would say, don't assume you're the customer. Like, that was something that was true across three completely different businesses, different users, different markets. Teams who are building for themselves, optimizing for their taste, and assuming that either they are user or their intuition represents user. Because that's the moment you start making very expensive mistakes, and we have made a few, to be fair with you. And this was one of the examples I can give is building GOG Galaxy 2.0, who had, I think, the right problem to solve, but not for the right people. To be fair, the promise behind GOG Galaxy was to replace all your other gaming clients like Steam, like PlayStation, Origin, etc., into one single interface, which was a noble thing to do, a hard thing to do, and a wrong thing to do when we started listening to our customers. unfortunately, we did it at a very late stage to it. So it was a bunch of costly development put into work. Some of the things we were able to harvest into something useful. Some of the things didn't. So it turned out GeoG user didn't have that many clients to manage with in the first place. So that was a big and costly revelation for us.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about being a coach and an advisor. As a coach, you probably see founders, CTOs making the same mistakes repeatedly. What's the mistake they refuse to learn from even after you've pointed it out?
Firing underperformers fast enough, I would say.
Why do you think that is?
I think to some degree it comes from a natural empathy that, this person, I can make someone out of that person. That's one. Second is founders and leaders typically have this weird ego placement in which they think they're making the right decision. Therefore, if they hire that person, it's difficult for them to admit to the mistake. But reality is the underperformers are quite easily to spot. Everyone knows who they are. The team knows, the leader knows. There is this weird of
There's a
something is
pattern.
not like particularly right in here. And it happens for months, and people get frustrated, people leave. And I think even the person who is underperforming can get extremely frustrated and a
Yeah.
big stress if you cannot handle the situation correctly. So I think that's the big one, and they can be a control freaks. Every decision has to come through them, so they become the bottleneck of
Yeah.
their organizations. And I think the good leader's role is to become somewhat of invisible orchestrator, and not someone who just does the heavy lifting all the time, because that's not how you scale your people.
Yeah. Very well put. What's harder, being accountable as a CTO where you own the outcomes, or being an advisor where you give recommendations but don't control execution?
But for me, it's the latter, I would say. Yeah. For 20 years, I've been, like I've mentioned, I've been in the trenches. So I just cannot sit comfortably when the ship is about to crash and say, well, I told you so. You should have listened to me, That's why you're paying me. So even in the advisory roles, I try to be on the rocket. So I own some projects. I do report things, propose a lot. Sometimes it's not that easy to keep up with me. I don't have the fat cat mentality of sitting in the ivory tower and just saying, okay, watch out for this, because I will tell you something in a few months. So for me, that's harder because I cannot physically, given my calendar, put more hours
Yeah.
into either coaching or mentoring or just showing how it's done. So that's
Yeah.
that.
Once an operator, always an operator, regardless
Yes.
of the role you go in. I am curious about your background. Just a couple more questions before we head on to our rapid fire round. You have a journalism degree alongside your engineering background. Does that influence how you think about product or leadership in ways that other CTOs don't?
I think it does. My general differentiator is I'm a business-oriented CTO. That's why I had a CTPO position. So the P stands for product and T for technology. And I would even put it in the different order. I think technology is the canvas for building product, not the other way around.
Well said.
So the journalism, I think it helped with communication skills, always useful. Just talking to the stakeholders, creating a copy, thinking how we could communicate a product to the customers, the product marketing instincts. So that's one. Second, which became very important in the AI area, asking the right questions. Most of us like to talk. We don't like to ask questions. We want to be listened, and we need to start, developing the question asking skills inside of us. So that's something that I was thought. Um, the next one would be probably writing. I do write a lot. I have a physical notebook and my favorite pen, and it helps me to do synthesis, and writing is
Yes.
thinking. So that's a big part that I got from that. So that might be atypical. And lastly, I would say, if a journalist can learn to code and build products, like nothing is impossible. So for
There's hope
me,
for us.
exactly, that's for you and for myself. Like, I don't have I cannot do this mental trap inside me. Um, if I was able to force myself into this, and I'm a humanist by nature, then I believe I like there's nothing I cannot teach myself.
Enough. Fair enough. Well, Phil, it's a fascinating conversation. I do have to ask you this before we head into our rapid fire round. You've been on the both sides, building products and now helping others build products. Which is more frustrating and why?
I think both are frustrating for the same reason.
Mm.
Because the most difficult part about building products and helping others build products is people. When you're building, you fight the organizational friction, politics, misalignment. When you're advising, you see the problems clearly, but you don't control the execution. You want the preventable mistakes happen. So you have the different frustrations, but the same root cause. Humans are complicated. So I would say
Yeah.
that's the thing. The most difficult, complex part about technology and building products are people, and it can be frustrating in both of these seats.
It's been a great conversation, Piotr. Thank you so much. Um, I'm still trying to distill a lot of what you're saying. And like you said about physical notes, I always make notes, and it's just so good to synthesize everything that you said. It's been a masterclass. I want to dig into our rapid fire round. Very quick questions, very quick answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
Listen to what you want and not what other people's want. I think that was something that just clicked with me, and so much, the life became so much easier from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is excellent advice. Advice you ignored or wish you had listened to.
Mm. Uh, s- just stop being perfectionist. That's the big one. I tend to have this tendency of putting the most perfect presentations, and I'm spending quite a lot of time into the things that I'm building, and at some point of my career was like uh, problematic for me. So I wished I had this advice earlier, because it comes down to how you build products. Yeah, you don't. They cannot be perfect.
Yeah. Enough. What would you tell your younger self, say 7, 10 years ago?
That freedom is something you can achieve um, quite easily, and you don't have to have so much money in your bank account, even if you think you.
Yeah, it's such a good advice. Yeah, I think like freedom in a lot of ways comes and starts from your mind. if you're
Exactly.
mentally free of all these,
Yeah.
all the. I think some of my very good friends told me that I enjoy all these toys, but I don't really need them. Um, and
That's
crap, you
true.
don't need it. You can live without a lot of the fluff that is out there.
And I know a lot of wealthy people who don't feel the freedom.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
when you get a Rolls Royce out on leasing for 40 grand a month, and you have a apartment for 20 grand a month, things start to stack up. Like
yeah,
you're essentially the very things that you own actually end up owning you in a lot of ways. So that's
exactly, and it
the
adds up
ultimate
to
trap.
stress. So therefore, like I have this tendency right now to enjoy small things. So
There you
having a
go.
cup of coffee, French
Mm.
fries from McDonald's, just walking the city,
Yeah,
pouring rain.
yeah. I relate to it so much because we had our son's birthday and we bought him a 3D printer, the cheapest like
Nice.
Bamboo Lab 3D printer we got on Black Friday sale. Um, and he literally sleeps next to it. And we build out these things, and he's printing out sharks and all these things. And for me, it's the greatest joy ever because it's such a small thing. I mean, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's the small things that you actually end up getting joy from and the memories that come from. And it's good to just zoom out a little bit and
Oh yeah,
appreciate those
man.
things. Yeah, it's pretty
You're a great dad, Saeed. I think
cool.
it's a
Thank you.
fantastic present.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
wish
yeah.
I had one when I was a kid, but
Yeah, I wish we had ChatGPT, but I was sure would have helped a lot. Um, is there an ongoing challenge in your current work that keeps you up at night?
it's maintaining a focus, having so many clients and trying to remove the tax of refocusing because like
Sure.
every day I have to deal with, let's say, 5 to 10 different accounts, and I need to remember, who that person is, what's the context of the company, and it is taxing for me
It
to
is.
switch the context and maintain
It
all the
is.
context. So that's the prevalent struggle I'm trying to figure out. That's why I learned how to organize myself. That's why I cherish the pen and paper planning and bunch of mental gymnastics that I can do right now.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Your favorite restaurant, meal, or spot in Poland?
I would recommend Connoisseur Grill, fantastic steakhouse, one of the best steaks I ever had, and they're very consistent. So if
Right on.
you're in Warsaw, if you live near Praga, Connoisseur Grill, you will not be disappointed, my friend. Have you
List
been?
it out. I've not. My kids enjoy whiskey in the jar because they bring
Mm.
out the steak on the stone.
Yeah.
So they get to cut it. They're making the whole thing. They just like the ambiance and the experience of it. But
And you
my
enjoy
favorite
the
steak,
whiskey.
I enjoy the whiskey sours as long as my wife is driving.
All makes sense.
Um, one tool that you swear by, I can't live without.
Pen and paper, that would be
Yeah,
the first one.
this.
But if we're into a digital space, that would be Tana. TANA.ENC. It's a fantastic graph database slash notes slash calendar slash tasks.
Wow.
You can build everything in it. So it's like Notion on steroids, on a very powerful concept of atomic nodes that can become everything. It's very fast to enter something, very fast to transform, very fast to build your own workflows, and it replaced a lot of the stuff in my productivity workspace. So I swear by it, and I'm a
Yeah,
big advocate.
absolutely. Piotr, this has been fantastic. Really insightful. Really enjoyed our conversations. Where can listeners find you?
You can clearly find me on AAProductHeroes.pl. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we are starting a newsletter with Wojtek at superhero.tech that will combine both of our newsletters, so the Ship It and Wojtek, So if you're into advice on building products, building teams that build products, and general leadership and AI, I think will be the sweet spot for you. So really enjoyed the conversation with you, Saeed.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next week. Thank you, Piotr. Take care.
Bye-bye.